Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Arrowverse, in particular, but I guess DCTV as a whole. So, one of the maybe more frustrating things, that's probably the way to put it, one of the more frustrating things that went down in the Arrowverse, especially like towards the end of it, at least in regards to being like strung along and not really getting a satisfying conclusion to either a story or an arc within the universe, was that of the, quote unquote Green Lantern arc for Deagle. This, I guess, officially starting in the Arrow series finale when this mysterious glowing green box fell from the sky while Deagle was moving from Star City, only for Deagle to get out, pick it up, open it up, and then leave us on a cliffhanger as to where we could possibly, pick things up with next time we see Deagle. Though you could argue it technically was first teased, maybe not officially started, but at least teased in earlier seasons, like when we met his stepfather who had the surname Stewart, as in John Stewart, if like Deagle took his surname, and then in Elseworlds when Earth 90's Flash asked Deagle where his ring was. Oh, I think he said like, John, where's your ring or something, not knowing this was a different John Deagle, of course, but tying into the whole Green Lantern tease and the larger picture that they were going for. But at the end, after a handful of guest appearances, bringing up the Green Lantern object, it was finished in season 8 of The Flash, with Deagle declining the offer. With us later learning that this was sort of like a rushed and not really the intended ending, as Eric Wallace, who was showrunner of The Flash at the time, thought The Flash might not get a season 9 and just sort of wanted to tie up that Deagle story, though it's not what was wanted or really intended on both the writers and viewers side of things. And it really makes you think, would you rather have just been left open and we just imagine where things went, or they actually ended it? I actually don't mind the fact they ended it, though it wasn't the ending that we really wanted. But Eric Wallace also did later say that if The Flash got a season 10, that box storyline, or the Green Lantern storyline, whichever way you want to put it, that would have come back into play and back into the equation in an attempt at a Blackest Night storyline. But of course, we never got that, so we don't really know how things would have played out in regards to that. Of course, other issues like the Green Lantern HBO Max show that was in development at the same time that the Deagle Green Lantern arc was just starting was believed by many to be a big speed bump in the road for this arc as well. But after a year since The Flash ended, where we are now, and about, roughly 4.5 years or so, or just over 4.5 years since Arrow ended, we actually have some first looks at what Deagle's Green Lantern could have possibly looked like. Now, this is coming via Mark Guggenheim and his weekly newsletter that he does on his blog. Now, and I was going to say this before, but then I quickly just included that it was Mark Guggenheim that wrote it, but there is a bit of an asterisk on this suit. So it's like a first look at the Deagle Green Lantern suit, or like a Deagle Green Lantern inspired suit. But there's just a bit of an asterisk on it, as Mark Guggenheim describes on his newsletter or on his blog post. Unfortunately, we never got the approval to go full Green Lantern with Deagle, but we were always trying to push the envelope as much as possible. For example, check out the proposed Season 8 costume for Deagle that we weren't able to slip past the powers that be. And here are the two concepts, or the two pieces of concept art. They're pretty much the same design, just some colors swapped around, for Deagle in Arrow Season 8. Now, the thing to note with these, we'll just look at them first. So you got one that's there's one that's more green, and then on the left there's one that's more green. It goes on the shoulders and then down, covers most of the chest, and then you have the black sort of clearly like a lantern symbol, with a white dot in the middle, and then the other one is mostly doesn't have that chest area covered with green, and it's just got a bit of different patterning and stuff like that, but the actual the lines and stuff are all the same. It's just really where the colors lie and everything like that. But obviously one's more green than the other. That's pretty much just around the chest area where the difference is. Obviously the pants are all black, and even the bottom half of the suit is all, or the bottom half of the jacket is all black. Now, the thing to note that this wasn't going to be his suit when he was a Green Lantern. There's a big thing I've seen misunderstood, and I guess it's just because people see the pictures and they don't read the context behind the suit, which I don't really blame people for that. But at the same time, if you're gonna I saw people really going hard on it, complaining to as if someone had done something really bad. But this wasn't going to be his suit when he was Green Lantern, or if he became Green Lantern. But this was for season 8, so this is for Arrow's final season. Obviously that was the last chance that they could, because they didn't know that Deagle was necessarily going to show up in the Flash and stuff, so they thought this was Deagle's last hurrah, especially around the Arrow characters. So this was their final chance, at least as the Arrow creators, to have a big nod to what they wanted to do with the character, with this. So this, if he actually You know, this is before he would have even got the offer from the box, because that obviously happened in the series finale. So this wouldn't even been when he was like tossing up, should I accept this offer? Should I not? It wasn't even around that. It was before that. So this was going to be their final chance to have that nod, and then they could leave that teaser there for other powers to play with potentially, which of course we saw in The Flash and Supergirl and Batwoman and stuff in the other shows. So that happened, but this was going to be before that point. In regards to what I think about the actual look, I don't mind it if in regards to like if this was his final thing. I actually sort of wish we got it, especially the bottom one, just because it was more green and stuff. I mean, obviously Oliver Queen or Green Arrow got a final suit. I think Deagle was just rocking the same suit that he was. Or if he got a minor change for season 8, I don't think it was that big of a difference. Like you just got little differences here or there. And I know like it really should have come down to like logic when people were complaining, because do they really think he would have been rocking a helmet as like he probably would have got a mask or something and everything like that. But one thing I did see a lot of people complaining about was the gun. And I guess once again, if you like, you like, if you like, no, I don't want to say like you don't know, but like at the same time, if you don't know, people were complaining about the gun. But even if the gun was going to be in the part of like when he was a Green Lantern, reminder, this was going to be before he was like potentially a Green Lantern. This was a nod to what they wanted to do with the character. He didn't have powers at this time. But even if he had the gun when he was Green Lantern, that could still work, as it could just be a play on Simon Baz. Simon Baz in the comics is one of the newer Green Lanterns. He came about in the DC Rebirth. Did DC Rebirth, or was it New 52? I can't remember. It was one of them. He uses a gun. And he like it's always a questionable thing when he uses, like, why do you need a gun? You're a Green Lantern. He's like, you know, because sometimes this isn't enough or something, or sometimes a gun is needed. I can't remember the line that he uses in the comics, but it's something along those lines. So even if he used the gun when he was Green Lantern, it would have been like, okay, it was just a play on Simon Baz. Like, why not use Simon Baz? Because already, I guess, John Deagle, you've already been teasing him as like, this is this Earth's John Stewart, I guess you could say, with his stepfather having the last name Stewart and everything like that. But yeah, I think it would have been fine, even though you probably prefer him not to have the gun and just use the powers of being a Green Lantern, I guess. And I did see people once again questioning when looking at this art, and it plays into the whole thing of not reading what Mark Guggenheim was saying, which, once again, but I saw a tweet that had like 6,000 likes or something. And I understand, like, it's Twitter, so you don't really expect Twitter to have the, you know, people have really short attention spans or like not really big brains on Twitter, so they don't really read stuff. And they're like, where's his ring? Once again, it's because he wasn't a Green Lantern. So if you're also looking at this wondering why doesn't he have a ring or anything that highlights anything from that box, once again, it was going to be before, not only before he accepted what was in the box, if he was going to accept it, but before he even got the thing that fell from the sky. So it was even before all that. So once again, this was a pretty controversial on Twitter, and I even saw people that I thought that I'd normally like agree with and stuff complaining about it, but obviously it's because they didn't read the context. Now, do I necessarily like, was I a big fan of like the stringing along with the Green Lantern stuff? I didn't mind it, especially when like it seemed like they were actually going somewhere, like, because you got to remember that at a decent point of it, it was actually like building towards something. But I think it was the fact that like it's like, you know, you're ordering whatever it is, like you're dying for like something that you really want, whether it's food or a drink or just something, and then it gets like 2 centimeters away from you, and then like the person drops it or something, and then it's like, oh, the thing's closed, you can't get another one of that thing anymore. It's like, oh, you just been pulled along the whole way just for it to be pulled from under your feet right at the last second. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that, but at the same time I understood like why they decided to end it the way they did, just because there was there's a lack of clarity in regards to what was going to be happening next. But that's where you got to, like, you know, take a gamble, I guess you could say. So it would have been interesting to see. And then, of course, like, Deagle shows up in the last season of The Flash anyway, but there's nothing really with this box stuff tied, and he's just pretty much like Deagle like he was before the box came. So, I don't know. That's just something that, you know, I can understand people annoyed at it, but for me, I'm like, whatever. But there's also this thing here, which I thought I'd leave to the end of this video. There's no point doing a singular video on it. And this comes from Mark Guggenheim again. So Cerberus, I think this was on Blue Sky. God, I haven't touched this thing. It's like meant to be like a Twitter dupe, I guess, but I think everyone just stopped complaining about Twitter and just kept using Twitter. But anyway, someone asked Mark Guggenheim, if you had control of writing the episode Oliver and Deagle were in, which is of course in The Flash, which is in reference to The Flash, obviously, what was that, episode 9 or 8 or whatever it was? Anyway, if you had control of writing the episode Oliver and Deagle were in, would you add some homage scenes to celebrate 10 years of Arrow? Because obviously, if you don't know, when that episode aired, it was the 10th anniversary of... no, it wasn't 10th anniversary of Arrow. It was the 12th, wasn't it? No, it was the 11th, wasn't it? I don't know. I'm confused because it definitely wasn't 10, because 10 would have been 2022 for Arrow, and that episode ended in 2023 in regards to the Flash. But anyway, but his response was, left to my own devices, I probably wouldn't have done it. It was too early to bring Oliver back, in my opinion. So this is fair enough if that's the way he wanted to put it, you know, because he might have thinking like, oh, well, you know, if he was, it's probably more like if he was gonna bring Oliver back, it wouldn't have been through that means. Maybe that's what he's saying. But I mean, it was the last chance. It was like, there wasn't another chance to leave it for 5 years because the Flash was ending. So he was like, you do it then or you never do it. And I think most fans would agree. It was awesome to have Oliver back, and it made sense in regards to the story and the universe and everything. It didn't change much. Like, Oliver should be allowed to do that in regards to the form that he was in at that point. So I can understand where Guggenheim's coming from in regards to saying probably wouldn't have done it at least that soon. But it was also, if you don't do it, then you're never going to be able to do it. And I think most fans wanted it to happen, especially because of how Oliver dies in Crisis. Like, it's very abrupt, and I think that worked for that story, though it didn't really allow like a proper goodbye and stuff like that, and some last interactions and stuff like that. So I'm happy with what they did, but I can understand where Guggenheim's coming from at the same time. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on everything we went over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.